welcome, Kerri Hummingbird. Welcome to Nordic Magic Link.
Thank you for the invitation to be here with you, Emma.
Well, thank you. I am super excited to talk to you today about all of your work and would love to just get an overview of who you are, your story, and how you got started with this on this path.
Oh, lovely. Okay, well, it's always fun to tell the story again and see how I want to tell it today, because how we tell our story makes all the difference, as we know. And so, well, who I am today is I'm a soul guide, and I am a conscious channel of ascended master insights, realizations, wisdom that I put into books and that I channel in webinars and things like that for people. I'm a healer like yourself. I use my voice to heal. And so I've been practicing singing Icaros from the jungle and doing those kinds of activations and surrendering control of my voice to the divine and letting it pour through. So these are the things I'm doing now. So now how did I get here? Well, through a journey, through a journey. And the journey began with my early childhood where I had the experience of 3 different dads in 7 years, and they were all really different. And my natural father was quite the partier and the very active in the 60s and in the sexual liberation movement of the 60s. And my mom felt like that was a little too much for a child that she was not expecting to arrive into. So when she realized that I was on the way and she tried it for about a year and it was like, no, this isn't really going to be suitable for how I think a child should be raised. And so she left him, got another husband who was, really a big lesson in masculine expression of anger. And so that created a lot of fear, a lot of fear and things like that, strife, and just it actually what it did for me is it gave me an opportunity um, to flex my empathy muscles because I'm just a baby in a crib, but I can hear what's going on. And the way to know what's going on is to feel it, right? To use our feeling sense. And I'm born with this gift. This is part of my human design, is the feeling gift. So I stretched my little feelers out there to feel if things were okay or not okay. And that was the beginning of my journey of really exercising that muscle. And then at 7 years old or 5 years old, we met who I like to call my dad, he's just departed a couple years ago, but he was my dad from 5 until then. So that masculine influence was really strong in my life and a really beautiful blessing. But that early childhood really did have an impact. And so a lot of the work that I've done in my life has been to understand my psychology. So I spent a couple decades on a psychotherapist couch talking about my problems in psychotherapy and trying to sort myself out and fix myself. That got to the end of the rope on that, didn't really work. I explored the thought tunnels, but it didn't really get shift that I wanted. And that opened the door, that frustration, that depression, that just like done feeling like I just want to leave the planet, that actually opened another door to my spirituality. So in that door to my spirituality, I finally opened to spirit and I said, okay, I'm not religious. I don't have any training in any of this. I don't know what it is exactly, but I know there's something bigger. There's got to be. And I'm open to finding it. And within a relatively short period of time, I got hooked up with the training that I needed, the teacher and the healing that I needed. I had a spiritual healing where like the whole thing just got opened up for me in 45 minutes. I just literally had the first experience of the divine, like a sensation of total unconditional love floating above my body, and I could feel it. And I thought, oh, wow, I never knew that was there. And in that healing, were removed some energies around my heart that was preventing me from moving forward in my life. And ever since that happened, it's been a journey, as it is for all of us. It's not like that was like one and done, like easy button, like bam. But there were a lot of journeys. But that was a pivotal moment, and it opened things up so I could start making shift in my life. It could start really getting traction, and I started learning about the power of my word and how my word is a frequency, and it's like a spider weaving a web all around me and around my whole world, like creating for myself what I want to experience. So I started really respecting the power of my word, and I started learning about my voice, and I started learning about my heart and speaking my truth and tuning into my intuition and unlocking my womb. And all of this whole journey has just been like so amazing. So that's a nutshell of like the journey I've been on. I'm also a mom. So, in the middle of all of this discovery, I've raised two sons who, are at varying levels of understanding what's been happening with their mom, because it's a big journey. It's a lot to take in. So, even peripherally. So, it's
How
been
old are they?
17 and 20 right now, but just about
Okay.
to turn into the next, so 18 and 21, just about. So it's a lot. It's a big journey. And I've got two little ones now because I'm remarried. So I've got, a almost 13-year-old and a almost 11-year-old. So it's like, wow, there's a lot going on.
Wonderful. What kind of healing was it that started it?
It was a shamanic healing. I It was a shamanic practitioner who was my first teacher. He did a healing with a drum. So he went on a drum journey. I was lying on the floor. He did a drum journey. And in the drum journey, he just went back to find out my original wound. Like, what's the original wounding for me that's been kind of rippled out from that point to cause the conditions of my life in repeating patterns? And he found this moment when I was 1 year old, where I was in the bathtub with my biological father, and he was being inappropriate with me. It's like code for molesting, right? Beginning that molestation process.
Mm.
And he was a wounded person also. He's also departed, and so I really honor him in his struggle and in his ancestral patterns that he was grappling with a lot on his plate as well, from his early childhood abuse. And so, you know, um, that healing though was really profound in the sense that um, the message that he pulled for me, which has really been such a profound lesson for me in my healing journey, was that it wasn't that interaction actually with my natural father that was the source of the wound. It was the way my mother reacted when she came into the room and saw what was happening. It was the shame that my mother felt that I took on as I'm bad, and I took on her shame as my shame in that moment of being a little child, because we're so open to help our parents, or so open and innocent. And as parents now, I can see the mother's perspective. We often don't know the moment that our child, like we're so concerned with protecting our children from everything, and then it still slips in, the thing that wounds them. And so, it's such an interesting journey, but I have been healing the mother wounds my whole life ever since then has been the journey. And my next book is Healing the Mother Wound, Love is Fierce. So it's all fun how it all, interesting fun how it all connects, and the journey of the deepening and the understanding of yourself, and the microcosm that's you, and the macrocosm of so many more people in the world experiencing the same thing in their own details, their own uniqueness.
Mm. And that experience you had as a child that you saw there, that was then healed in this session, or was it over time, do you feel?
It was an initial part of the healing, and it was a soul reclamation. It was a
Okay.
reclamation of the soul part, my innocence that fled my body at that moment in that incident. And so that part had never really been with me my whole life. Like, I was so serious so much. And it was because this innocent piece just sort of like, was hanging out outside of my energy body, kind of hiding. So that part got integrated within a few months. And then now it's been a journey of unconditioning my brain, right? So unconditioning my brain from all the early messages, and then the ongoing messages. The paradigms that we're clearing now on the planet, we're all clearing the paradigms of codependency. We're all clearing the paradigms of, you know, inappropriate sexuality, and like what is empowered sexuality. Like, these are all questions that all of us are facing. So this is the journey that I've been on ever since then. But it definitely it unlocked that child piece within me to be reintegrated, and I felt it when it reintegrated. He actually put it into a crystal. So I carried the crystal around with me for like months, just talking and singing to this little part of me. And kind of like you do when you're in second grade or something and you carry your little egg around everywhere and you like protect the little egg. I don't know if you did that project, but so it's kind of like that. And then one day, spontaneously, I was like, oh, I need that crystal. Where is it? Where is it? And I was like, I had put it away somewhere and I was looking for it. And as soon as I picked it up, it's like I felt like I was in a washing machine, like that shaking, vibrating feeling. And then all of a sudden, this part was in me and I knew it. And I had like greater fullness. Like I can't, it's the only way I could explain it. Like I just like this total fullness inside of me suddenly. And I knew that this part had come home because she finally trusted me enough to come home because I had been doing some self abuse before that. And she didn't want to come back into a vessel where I was doing that, you know?
Wow. That's a really, really good point. Yeah, I like that. Um, the shamanic work that you then started on, was that a specific tribe, or have you been diving into different types of shamanic practices?
Yeah, so I've been studying a lot of different teachers, but my first shamanic teaching was with a local shamanic practitioner, Gary Starnes, who wrote a book, The Quest for Authenticity, and that was my first introduction to it at all. And then from there, it branched into I worked with Heather Ashamara, who is more Toltec, and her teachings, warrior goddess teachings, are more Toltec based. They're based in the traditions and the teachings of Don Miguel Ruiz, who she studied with for a long time. And then I also simultaneously got pulled to study energy healing with the Four Winds Society, which is a school of Alberto Villaldo, but he works with the Q'ero people in Peru. So the Q'ero people in Peru are really beautiful rainbow colored people. They have like the rainbow ponchos and stuff that they wear, and they're just delightful. And they're very wise, like so amazing. The medicine people, they perform incredible healings. And so that's my primary lineage now of healing. However, I've also then continued my journey and I study with the Power Path. And so they work with Weechal medicine. Weechal, they have a Weechal medicine person that works with them that actually initiated them over like 20 years. He passed away recently. So he's in the etheric realms supporting the work. And so he works with me. So he's Weechal. So I have that medicine too. So it's just kind of like I'm like a little hodgepodge of different teachings. And then I also have Cherokee natively in my body, but not confirmed because I don't have like I don't know where I am on the rolls, like where my ancestor is. I trouble finding that because she changed her name because she could pass for white. So you know, I've been reconnecting that part of my lineage as well over the last 6, 7 years or something. So
Wow, beautiful. And do you find that when you're working with all these different tribes, do you find that there are a lot of similarities?
I think that the ultimate similarity I see is the use of ritual
Yeah.
and song is a key element, using our voices and calling on the elements and allies of earth, and prayer, like opening sacred space, is a very common element through all the teachings that I've had, is learning how to open sacred space from your heart and connect in with the earth and the four directions and the elements and the mountains and all of life on earth basically, and just connect with everything from your heart and ask for help. um that's been a beautiful part of my journey. It feels like it opens like this little magical door where, you go through the door and you're like, oh, there's a whole nother world happening here. Like it's right here with me, but it's like a completely different world than I was living in a few moments ago before I opened sacred space. So it is, I would say that. And, you know, there's also just the recognition that this is a personal journey, which I also love, is that you get the benefit of studying with a teacher or a guide is just so that you can get started connecting directly, and then you can know how to process some things using some tools and practices and get to the place where you don't need it third dimensionally to be told to you. You can actually just download it yourself and follow your own path. I mean, that seems to be the benefit of this path, is how tuned in it is to the uniqueness of each of our journeys.
And did you have a teacher for a long time, or?
I would say um I am such an adventurer that I tend to adventure my way all around the spectrum. So I would say that I don't necessarily stick with any third dimensional teacher. I endlessly adore them for everything that they showed me and taught me, but I'm not like a follower in the sense of like staying in the community kind of person. The latest community I'm in right now, it seems like it'd be maybe the first opportunity for me to be in a space where I want to keep going. That's really the longest I've been in a community because I tend to move around. I tend to be interested in different things and then want to add that to my toolbox.
And what's the current community? Is that the tribe you're working with in Peru, or is it somewhere close to you?
So I still work etherically with the Carol people on my path, and bring I am bringing my people to Peru to work with the Carol directly as well. But the lineage I'm really working with third dimensionally right now is the power path, and so they're more like the Weechal teachings. And I like the community. I feel like it's very sacred to me, the things I've experienced and the way it's opened my heart. And so that feels more, like a place I want to hang out for a while. So right now that's what's happening.
Did you say the power path?
Yes.
Is that so? I am currently reading your book, The Second Wave,
Yes.
and I'm loving it, really loving it. And you're talking about the beauty path in that book. Is that the same, or what's the difference?
Yeah, I would say the beauty way. And the beauty way is definitely something I've learned from the power path.
Okay.
It's a way of like, from the way that I experience it, is a way of stepping on the earth with gratitude, love, and awe. And they talk a lot about gratitude, love, and awe in their teachings, to really open that space in your heart that you're grateful and that you're in awe of the divine and the unfolding that's happening for you, and that that you open to this. And there's so much love that can pour through your heart when it's like uncrusted from all of the ways that you defend against love, right? So this path seems to be that. It seems to be really like the power path to me, as I've experienced it, seems to be deepening and deepening into more inner power, self awareness, and self love that actually opens up the floodgates to love and be present with all that's happening around you as we deepen into this space of healing. And it's a lot of teachings around also navigating your ego, and your personality, like how it shows up for you and how it keeps you from the things you say you want. And so we have to keep a watchful eye on that, and dismantle and dissolve those edges as we find them to bring more love. So that's really the way I experience that path that I've learned through them. And I would say the beauty way is an indigenous teaching. It's not like just um, unique to them. It's more they're a good bridge for understanding it in a Western consciousness. But that beauty way, that sense of connection to everything that is, and that sense of um, opening up your heart and being grateful for the divine, like that is a across the board something I've witnessed in indigenous culture.
What kind of action should one take to get started on the beauty path or the beauty way? Sorry.
Well, I like to give people the first task is to learn how to open sacred space, and to learn how to do it in such a way that you're an invitation, that your heart is really open and ready, and that you really welcome and invite the directions to support you and the elements. And like I said, divine mother, all of life on earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars, like you just like welcoming it in and saying like, yes, thank you, I'm here, I welcome your support. And you just have that invitation, that opening, because this is a planet that's very respectful of your autonomy. So if you don't ask for help, you won't get any. If you don't ask for help, then you'll just kind of have to figure it out yourself. And a lot of people are in that space, and when you get tired of being in that space, you can actually ask for help, and you can get a lot of support. The support is like right there. It's like right there when you really mean it and you're asking for it. And it's that relationship. So I learned about opening sacred space early on, but one of the lessons I learned about it from the Four Winds that really stuck with me was that this idea that, as we ask for support from the divine, then it's a reciprocal thing. So then you'll be asked to help support. So you ask for support, you get the support, and it always comes every time you call. It's right there, and then you're asked to help. So there'll be a moment where like, oh my gosh, I'm meant to be in service to this person right in front of me. Okay, let me do that. So then you just willingly agree. You're like, okay, I see that this is placed in front of me, so I will be in service. And then it's like the reciprocity of that just keeps moving and expanding so that we all uplift each other. So it's really beautiful. I love I had a really powerful experience one time also, because when you first start opening sacred space, you're left, your thinking mind is like, this is BS. It's nothing's working. I don't feel anything, and I think I'm just talking to the air, and it feels silly. You feel kind of stupid. But I'll say, like, I had this experience after many years of opening sacred space daily, just like as a practice, and even like at night at my altar, like a couple times during the day. And I even open it over broadcast. I open it all the time. So I like it. So it puts me in the state of mind to acknowledge the divine. And so one time I was doing that on a trip, 3 days solo in the woods as part of my Power Path training, and we were not supposed to go anywhere off of our little spot. No venturing off. Just stay in your spot for 3 days and drink your water, and that's it. Like no food or anything like that. And so I was doing that the first day, and I'd already done everything I could do, and then I found this rock, and I decided I would practice my healing songs we were talking about. And so I got up on the rock as like a little stage, to the forest. And I just started singing my Icaro, to call in the medicine to myself. And I was calling in all the support, the apus, and which are like the mountain spirits. And I was calling in the plant medicines, and I was calling in just all the allies. And then I got this little inner giggle that was like, oh, I'm going to call in hummingbird. And the word for hummingbird in Quechua of my training in Peru is sihuarquente. And so I just kind of sang. I was like, sihuarquente shunarai shunarayanti, sihuarquente shunarai shunarayanti, sihuarquente shunarai shunarayanti. And at about that point, the hummingbird came right here. And like out of nowhere, it zoomed through the forest. Shoo, and was just hovering in front of my third eye. And it stayed there. It didn't leave. And I thought, okay, this is really long. This is not normal. This is abnormal, but it's normal. But you're like actually responding to my call. And I said, so you answered my call, and it kind of nodded. And then
Wow.
it flew away. So I kind of got a big message that day that every time I call, even if I don't see it with my eyes, like that was really a big deal. Like that flew out of the forest, came in front of me, like I'm here. That
Yeah,
they come when you call.
yeah, that's amazing. I was just reading that story of yours in your book last night. And it reminded me of I was singing to myself in the forest in Alabama 10 years ago, and trying to sing in and call in the nature spirits of the forest. And I just was singing probably like half an hour, just the same little tune over and over again. And I just felt like I was in a very meditative state, but I didn't see anything. But it was still very, wonderful and wonderful experience. And then at that night, I dreamt that the windows, I was lying in the bed that I was in, and the windows opened up out to the forest, and the spirit of the forest was singing to me. And it was the most beautiful song I'd ever heard. And I just woke up and just felt so blessed. And I just wish I could remember the song because it was
Oh,
so
yeah.
beautiful. And your story reminded me of that story of mine.
Yeah, it's like it's always right there. The
Yeah,
magic is right there with us. It's just our perceptual filters don't allow us to see it necessarily all the
yeah.
time.
And it's good. And even if you're not, like me, who I usually don't see things like that in real life, but then it comes to me in dreams always, so I can get the messages there. And I'm very thankful for that. And I feel like we all have different ways in which the Great Spirit talks to us. And and definitely going down this path, or the beauty way, as you describe it, is a way to strengthening these skills in us.
Yeah,
So
it's really a choice. It's a choice to see the beauty every day, because we always have a choice of what we want to focus on.
yeah. So you said if someone wants to get started on the beauty way, the first thing to do is open sacred space, and that is doing ritual work, casting a circle, calling in the directions, and calling in the deities that you want to work with. Um,
Yes.
even if you feel silly or
Even if you feel like nothing's happening, just run an
yeah,
experiment, like postpone your disbelief. Just put it
yeah.
aside.
What else would you recommend people do?
Well, it's helpful to do some work with the earth and to do earth rituals, so really working with the earth. Working with the earth can be really simple. It doesn't have to be hard, right? So it's usually really obvious. Like if you go and sit in the forest with your back against a tree and you just ask the tree, can you please, take the heaviness I'm feeling right now out of my spine and just put it into the earth and just fill me back up with beautiful light. And if you just sit there a little while, you'll feel lighter and you'll feel like, hey, I feel like some things went down into the tree and I feel better. I feel like things are in a new place. It's learning how to go into the subtlety. It's learning how to go into the subtle impressions within yourself. And it's also helpful to be intentional with that, like to intentionally work with the elements. Let's say like the fire, the spirit of fire is a really awesome element to work with when you want to transmute energy, maybe shift something in your life. Then let's say you have a thought in your brain that just won't stop coming at you and like you're obsessing on it, like it just keeps coming and coming and coming and you're like, oh, when is this thought going to stop coming? And you can actually write that on a slip of paper, blow into that paper how that thought makes you feel, open sacred space and give it to the spirit of fire and say, please take this thought away and all the energy associated with it. I release it, and then you can write in a journal a thought to replace it, maybe 15, 20 times to help yourself like build the new story. So we're always in this process of being able to work with the elements, the spirit of death, for example, um, to release what's not working in our lives with consciousness and to invite in a new story. Because this is all just a big story. The whole thing is a story. So your story is, like I said in the beginning, your story is creating your life. It's creating everything for you. So even like your story about how somebody is showing up for you or not showing up for you, because there's multiple timelines, there's multiple layers of reality. So in these different timelines, in these different layers of reality, people behave differently to you depending on what you believe, right? Depending on what timeline you're in. So if you're in a lower timeline because you're holding a story about somebody that they're going to be rejecting you or something, and then you manage to lift yourself in your own inner experience, not looking at what's happening on the outside, but just going, well, what do I want to happen? And then focusing energy on that with your storytelling and your gratitude and your envisioning, well, pretty soon you're lifting yourself to another timeline where there's an opening to that to happen potentially, right? And it's always by agreement. And it's, it's easier if you're not working with specific people. It's easier to manifest things. But, even if you're thinking about specific people, you have a relationship you want to improve, the way you're holding it and the story you're telling about it yourself and them is creating the reality. And there are multiple timelines and potentials of realities happening simultaneously. So which one do you want to be in? Do you want to be in the one where you're having like a crappy experience, or do you want to be in the one where you're having a better experience? And that's really up to you. So it's all how you show up to it.
And so say if you switch timelines, What happens to the timeline you were in? Does that disappear, you think?
No, it's still there. You can pop back down into it if if you're not careful.
Okay.
You can kind of it's I have had some experiences of it because it really tripped me out. I did some really powerful energetic healing work at the Four Winds Light Body when I was studying there. And in one particular episode, I'm going to share, I don't think I shared about this in the book, but in this one case, I did 2 classes back to back, which normally I hadn't done because it's just too much transformation in 1 week. Like 1 week is enough. Like you don't need 2. But I wanted to graduate, so I did both of them back to back. The first class was so powerful that I was really cooked because we did this practice, this ritual that they teach you at the school to basically leverage universal energy in an earth painting and an earth mandala to kind of reverse directions on some things in your life. Like I'll just say that. So what it ended up doing, this practice, is it really wiped my brain. It felt like spirit took sandpaper to my mind and just like sandpapered like my entire mind, like my identity, my stories, like everything just got like and all I could really do for a couple of days was just like walk the labyrinth, go to the center, put my head on the earth, my forehead like right on the earth, and just pray to Mother Earth, like, please, I don't know who I am right now. This is so freaky. I feel weird. Like, help me. I feel like disoriented. It was really shocking to my system. But what happened was I got a few more healings and from the shamans that were there, and I took my second class, and that kind of evened things out. And but there was a new story of me that needed to come in. For a little while, I had to be in the void of not knowing what that was. So before I had left for the trip, I had had conversations with my mom, who was saying some really like negative, disparaging things about my ex-husband. 2 weeks later, after all of this transformational work, I come back and she's got the opposite perspective.
Wow.
And for a moment, I started to argue with her. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? You were just, and then I was like, oh, never mind. Because I was like, oh, like, so you're
Wow.
different because I'm not in the same timeline anymore. And you don't hold that. So then I'm like in a new timeline trying to figure out what everybody really thinks because now I'm in another timeline. And they're not the same, and I'm not the same, and so the history is slightly different, and I'm not really sure what history we're in. So it's like that. It's like confusing because you realize that you just switched into a different timeline, and now people are acting different, or they're holding different points of view, and you wanted that. So that's good actually. And you got to kind of lean into the discomfort of that because you just have to show up and be present with what is in order to keep that rolling. Otherwise, you can suck yourself. Like if I'd have sat there and argued with her, I could have just brought myself like down into a reality where that was congruent. I didn't want to be in that reality. I just got myself out of that one.
Yeah.
So
It's your consciousness that can shift to different timelines. And
yeah,
so there's still a consciousness left in that timeline you left that's still experiencing that,
yes.
but your consciousness has moved.
And experiencing a different thing,
Okay.
and you can actually feel, like I could actually feel the pull of the old reality wanting to like pull me back after a couple of days, like because I'd always been in the middle on the rescuer part of the triangle of disempowerment. Like I'd always been the rescuer in the middle, like between my sons and their father, for example. And so I didn't want to be in that position anymore. I wanted to leave the whole triangle behind. I just wanted to be sovereign. So I could feel it, like the little tendrils, the tentacles or whatever, the tendrils of people's like energetics trying to pull me back into that spot. And I was like, no, I don't want to be in that spot. So then I did the practice again a few days after I got home, just to like, like get out of here with that. And so what was cool is that everything started to really change. And what's cool, like I did that for a while. Like I used that practice to catapult myself in leaps and bounds through the timelines to get to the highest timeline. And then at some point I got where I needed to be, and I just haven't felt since then the need to do that again. So I haven't used that practice again because I'm good where I'm at, and I don't really need to hop anywhere right now. Like I can just I can be here, it's fine. and I like the people I'm with, and so, I'm like, let's hang out here for a while. This is good. But also, like, there's other ways to do that kind of thing too, is using practices like with plants, like plant medicines, to bring yourself into altered states of consciousness, and work with the plants to catapult yourself into a higher timeline. You can also do that. So the only way to do that is by clearing your density. You have to clear density, and the only way to clear density is let go of your identity and your stories of who you are, or who you think they are, or what the situation is, like your stories. You have to release the stories. Like, it's the only way to loosen it up. So, and people close to you, takes a little while for them to get into the groove of your new story.
Would you want to share a little bit about plant medicine, maybe in general, or some of your experiences with it?
Yeah, so plants are consciousnesses, and they are very wise. They have a lot to teach us, and they're not quite so bogged down as we are by our brains, our minds. Our minds are, can be a blessing, but they can also be a really difficult, because they really can tell some stories that we don't want to tell. And anyway, there's a lot of density, and then we inherit all of our ancestors' stuff. So there's just a lot going on when you're human. That seems to be less complicated when you're a plant. At least from my experience of working with plants, they seem far less complicated than we are. And so because of that, you can tap into those higher vibes like a lot easier, and the messages are clear. So for example, one plant that I work with is tobacco. Well, I work with the tobacco with prayer ceremonies, just like the ancient people always have worked with tobacco, because it's a very strong plant. It's a protector plant. It clears negative energy, and it sends prayers to spirit. So it's got a very important function. So you get a good relationship with tobacco, then you have a pretty good vehicle for ongoing daily. It's a good, like, workhorse plant. Like, it'll work with you every single day. Very strong, like, ally. And you can just work with it in a dish. Like, you can just put some on your altar in a little dish, and it'll absorb negative energy if you ask it to. You put it in the middle of a ritual mandala or something, it'll help it move along. If you wrap it around something that you've created, like a little circle of tobacco around it, it'll protect it. So it's just sort of, you can just work with the plant and ask it to do certain things for you, and then listen to its guidance, because otherwise it's not a two-way street. So I also worked with tobacco in the jungle. So I went to the jungle and I did dieta with tobacco, which is basically the shaman prepares the tobacco as a drink, and then you ingest it into your body. And that sounds really gross, and it is tough to swallow it. And the benefit of that, and please don't ever do this at home, only do it with like a shaman in the jungle, like somebody
Yeah.
qualified. Because you could kill yourself, really, you could, if you don't have the right medicine, because there's something about the prayers and the relationship of the shaman with the medicine that makes it work. It's not just the medicine all by itself. It's the shaman that's working with the medicine and relating with the medicine on your behalf that makes it viable as a medicine. So, so I ingested it, and what my experience was of that was that now it created like a matrix on the inside of me, so that it's always ever present. So I used to have a lot more inner wobble over things. Like, I used to be very wobbly on the inside in my determination or confidence over things. Ever since the tobacco came in my system, is probably about 2 years ago, it is a whole different thing now. Like, I'm so much stronger than I ever was, and I'm more confident. And if I have a wobble, I can just kind of feel that in my being, and then ask tobacco to just, go poof that, like dissolve that energy, or I'm ready to release that energy. Tobacco, can you please help me? I just, all on the inside of me, and I'll just feel it go, just sort of disappear. So, it's kind of a fun plant to work with in that way. And then protection and things like that. Um,
How was it when you took it? Did you feel the plant talking to you, or?
oh, yes.
Okay.
Like, immediately I felt messages coming to me, and then synchronistic experiences, sensations would come, and then I would know that that was part of the plant teaching that was happening. And, thoughts arose within me that then I knew was the medicine showing me things that I could choose to clear if I wanted to. And I did. So thank you for pointing it out. Yes, I'll release that. So yeah, it's powerful that way. And all medicines, all plant medicines that you would ingest really could work that way. So ayahuasca is another one of those that you can work with to clear patterns that are holding you back, patterns of limitation, to clear ancestral stuff that's sort of limiting you. You can clear all of that with ayahuasca, and you can get great wisdom. You can fill up with love, and you can rewire yourself to have the consciousness to go for the things you really desire. So these plants they're like, ayahuasca is a truth teller. I mean, she'll tell you like it is, and you may not want to know everything that she has to show you, but it is very liberating to face the music in that way and face the shadows. And she's a shadow medicine. So, it's very much like psilocybin. Psilocybin can be a joyful medicine, like out in the woods, kind of joyful, but it can also be a really serious medicine, just like ayahuasca. And she can show you like, hey, you're really kind of like teetering on the edge of something over here you might want to look at, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So it depends on how you're using it too. Like I know that a lot of people are really enamored of marijuana again in our culture. It just depends on why are you using it. What's your intention? Is your intention to escape your life? That's one intention, and that will lead you down an interesting pathway. And then you might decide to have a different intention that will lead you home to a better pathway, in my opinion. More self-awareness, more self-discovery, more knowledge, more self-empowerment, truth.
Right. Is the tobacco a male energy since ayahuasca is
Feels that
female?
way.
Yeah.
I think masculine, yeah, it's very masculine to me. Just like peyote is a very masculine medicine.
Okay.
It's a grandfather medicine, and it's got a lot of sunlight energy, so it can be kind of like a bursting sun inside your whole body. So these are things that, you know, it's a journey when you start working with plants, and it's also a journey to um, have a daily spiritual practice so that you're strong without the plant. Like you don't need the plant. And actually, it's just helpful. It's a shortcut. It's like Cliff Notes, deep healing quickly. So if you want deep healing quickly and you want to ascend on your path quickly, then plants are the way to go. You can also, once you ingest a plant, it's always with you. So then you all just work with the plant using your spiritual practice, chop wood, carry water. Like if you went to Peru and you worked with ayahuasca, well, guess what? You can work with ayahuasca every day of your life now. You can continue working with the plant. You can work with it every day. You don't have to put it in your lips for you to be working with the plant. It's not necessary. If you feel like your mind is just too chattery and you just don't have the discipline or the focus to do that, then take some more, you know? But at a certain point you'll realize you're good. Like it's fine. You can just work with the medicine in a healing. That's why they come through whenever I do healing ceremonies with people. People that have never done those medicines feel the medicine because I have it in my body from my trips and my retreats and all that kind of stuff that I've done for myself. Then it's in my body. So then when I do a healing session, people who've never worked with those medicines, they feel the effect of it in their body because the consciousness is with me and it's working with me. It's working through my energy and my physical body and my consciousness. And and I allow it space to use my vessel to perform healing. So people feel that.
Do you think it's more beneficial if you have emotional wounds in regards to your dad? Is it then more beneficial to work with the tobacco plant, for instance, because it has a more masculine energy, or peyote? And then if you have something with your mother, it's more with ayahuasca, or do you think it doesn't matter?
That's a really interesting question. I'm glad you asked that. I had both daddy issues and mommy issues. So, I needed both. Um, I think that really the best thing is to work with whatever medicine you're guided to and whatever keeps showing up in your face. You know, like if you just keep getting dreams and visions or people talking about a certain medicine in front of you, like, okay, well, that's just spirit going, hey, you're invited to explore this for your own good. And then you might say yes to that, you know. And I always tell people like to be really careful, to really use vetted sources for the medicine because especially if people who are smoking marijuana, marijuana is grown under a wide variety of circumstances. From not my direct knowledge, but just my sense, my intuition tells me that it's grown by a lot of different people, and a lot of different people might not have the same objectives or the same spiritual outlook or the same conversations with the medicine, the same way of nurturing and raising the medicine. And how somebody raises a medicine has everything to do with how well it can be a powerful medicine for you on your healing journey when you're looking at it from a spiritual perspective. So if someone's raising a bunch of marijuana just to make money, and it's like a drug lord situation, well, that has a violence energy to it. That's just inherent in the plant that's being grown. So that's not necessarily what you want to invite into your being, right? So you want to be mindful about where is it coming from? Where is the medicine coming from and how was it raised? What was his intentions during the raising of it? Which is also the reason you need to be careful when you go to the jungle and you pick a medicine person to work with, because they're all different medicine people too. And there's all different people and what they're working on in their life lesson right now with regards to their power, because when you step in to do that kind of work, the more spirit work you're doing, the more inner power you have. And then the goal is to be humble with that inner power and not to engage in power over anyone else, right? So the more power you get, the more inner power you get, the more tempting it is to have, or the more alluring it is, or the more people want you to have power over them because they look up to you like priests in a church or something. So you have to like be really mindful. So medicine people, they really are like the gardeners of Mother Earth's medicine. They have to have high integrity, you know? So you need to assess like, okay, where is this one along in their healing journey? Are they ready to really hold space for other people, or are they sort of looking to be a guru, or do they want to like create a cult, or what's their intention? Like, are they open-handed with it, or is there like a something behind that? So
Yeah,
you got to look out for that.
right. And yeah, so your point about the plant medicine, also that there's an energetic imprint because of the way it was raised. You could also say definitely that that also goes for food. Where are you getting your food from? How was it grown? And if you're a meat or fish eater, was it from the ocean where the fish had a good life, a natural life, or was it from a farm raised situation? So all these things I think is very important and something we don't always think about.
Exactly. And you can always, you know, if you don't know the source and you're not sure, but you can always do prayer over it and infuse it with light, before you work with it, just to be sure that you've covered your bases, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I met a lady a couple months ago who on all her glass bottles of water she drew the Reiki sign, Chokorei, on it so that it always had the healing energy. I thought that was so cool, and I said to myself, "Oh, I'm gonna do that." And then, of course, I forgot. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those little decisions. Those little decisions make a big impact when you add them all up. So that's the kind of consciousness that we're being invited to step into now. And so have grace for yourself. All of us are invited to have grace for ourselves as we lift ourselves into higher and higher levels of consciousness out of like our previous states of consciousness, and not to be too harsh on yourself if there's a little wobble here and there. It's okay. You still know where you're going, and there's always, whenever there's a big expansion, there's always a contraction that follows it. It's just how it works. So we're expanding and opening, and then we're contracting a little, and then we're expanding and opening, and then we're contracting a little. So
Mm.
still
Yeah,
on the forward path.
that makes sense. So your book, The Second Wave, what can you talk a little bit about the overall message that you're trying to get through to people?
Well, the overall message is that it's an invitation to step out of the conditioned ways of being and the conditioned identity that you have of yourself, and to get reconnected with the earth consciousness and reconnected with your soul consciousness so that you can remember what role you're here to play in the ascension of the planet into the age of Aquarius. Like, what's the role that you have? And the more you're connected with the earth as an element of earth, and the more you're connected with your soul for guidance, the more aligned you'll be to that divine purpose, and it will unfold in front of you, and you'll be less suffering. And the more you resist that, the more the pebbles become stones, become rocks, become bricks, become 2x4s, become brick walls. So you can resist if you want, but it gets uncomfortable. So the invitation of the book is really to remind people of, like you said, oh, I saw that symbol and I love that she did that and I just forgot to do it. There's so many things like that we all have gotten the message. So many of us have gotten the messages that are in this book at one point or another, but then they faded back down into the unconscious sea, and we lost them again until something else brought it to the surface, and we saw it again and we were like, oh, that's right, and then we lost it again.
Mm.
So the book is really designed to capture it all, like the messages for the second wave in particular, the job that we're here to do, so that it's in one place. You can just go, oh, that's right, let me go look at that again because I forgot. I know it's there, and you can open it up and read it. So it's not like new information necessarily to your soul. Your soul already knows this information. It's more like reminding your personality of it so that you can wake up more and get conscious, more conscious, even more conscious than you already are with how you're living your life and living your purpose.
And the second wave is souls that are here to help bring in the new energy, right?
Yeah, it's souls from around the galaxy who said, that looks like a pretty fun task. I want to be human for a lifetime and ascend my consciousness into the new age of Aquarius. That sounds fun. So it's souls who, have some certain level of mastery doing this on other planets, because this is this Earth has been a pretty rough experience for thousands of years now. So lifting the consciousness of humanity has been tried 5 times before, so clearly we really wanted to get it right this time. So it's an invitation, so the souls that said yes are souls who feel like, you know what, I can remember what love is even in the darkest of circumstances. I'm good, I can go along to that planet. And then embody in a human lineage that has triumphs and tragedies, and bring love to it, bring love and healing to the history so that we can liberate ourselves from the history and evolve into the next phase of humanity. That's really the job. And for all the people who, like, a couple years ago started getting the message like, the time is now, the time is now, and like getting frantic, like, oh crap, the time is now, what do I do? I know I'm supposed to do something really important right about now and I can't remember what it is. Well, this is it, so the book was really timely. I got the message like in February 2019, said, okay, you're going to write this new book. It's called The Second Wave. I didn't remember what that was at the time, so I had to be referred to Dolores Cannon and a video that she put out about it. And she actually has a book about the 3 waves of volunteers. So I didn't read the book, but I did look at the video. I was like, oh, okay, I remember now. And then I just channeled the book, and it came really fast. It was published in July. We're now at 50 weeks this week, 50 weeks international bestseller on Amazon.
That's
And
awesome. Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, it's good to feel on point and useful. Like,
Yeah.
that's what people need right now. So it's like, great. I'm so glad to serve that to the people who need it. It was a really easy book to write. It was beautiful, and it's still going strong. So the point of reading the book is to wake up and remember what you already know as a soul, and the messages have already been coming to you, and then to remember who you are. in truth, not like, Emma wearing her really cute headdress and, not Emma like Emma, but, soul Emma, like who's the soul that's embodying and created Emma for this specific, journey on earth. That's the one we want to speak to. We want that one coming forth because that's the one that can actually make change in a big way, So that as soon as we all wake up to that in the second wave, we're about like 10% of the population on Earth, and we're all spread out across all the human, lineages that we're going to bring forward into New Earth. So not all the lineages will go. Some of them will be weeded out because they're just not, they didn't have enough lessons and learning and progress. So the ones that didn't make enough progress, they get left behind in the old Earth, and the ones that made progress, they go ahead. They get brought to New Earth. So the second wave, we chose the ones that had promise, that had a lot of good work, a lot of good lessons, a lot of ancestral effort. Like I said, tragedies and triumphs. And we're going to bring that medicine forward. We got to heal the past to do that. So that's why we embodied, so we could experience the patterns ourselves and heal it from the inside out. And then help everybody else who, is like, if there's only one of us within 10 people, then that means we have 10 people or 9 people that we're here to like support, right? At the very least. So we're here to support our family and the people closest to us in our DNA to accept these upgrades. And COVID is a huge part of that upgrade process. It's a big interrupt in the big, the big patterns of how we were operating on the planet. It just went like bam, and those patterns have stopped for reflection. It's like the biggest Mercury retrograde you could hope for. So we're getting that chance to really see. So that's really the work of the book, and just to remember those things and to remember who you really are. Because when we step into our real power, we can affect a lot of really beautiful change on the planet working together from that level of consciousness and understanding.
And this book channeled by White Eagle?
Yes, so White Eagle is my primary guide for this book and in most of my life. I'm currently working with White Buffalo Calf Woman on the next book. That's been going on since I published the second wave, so about a year now. It's more embodied. It's an embodied book. So it's been a lot of embodiment of the teachings in my own personal life in order to complete the book. So it's been a lot harder than working with White Eagle and just channeling the book, which was awesome and so easy and beautiful. And I've also loved this process. It's been very gritty and messy and empowering and beautiful in its own way. So, but yeah, White
Why is
Eagle.
it so different?
I asked myself that question. I think it's the different energies. And so White Eagle is more of a masculine energy, and the masculine energy is about presence and penetration and claiming. And so, I'm accustomed to the masculine energy as being part of our Western culture. I'm really used to that energy, right? Like, I'm used to that. That's how we operate. But the feminine energy that White Buffalo Calf Woman represents is more about invitation and expression and surrender. And the surrender part has been a lot harder for me. That's been because of trust issues, because of trust issues with my own mom, and that have been passed down ancestrally. So there was an event a little further back in my ancestral line that created this sort of pain in the mother's heart that got passed on. And so that's what I've been working here to heal, is that wound, and to and all the other ways that it expresses itself, but primarily that wound that prevents mothers and daughters from really connecting. And I know a lot of us experience that. So that's a lot of people out there in the world that want to experience closeness with their moms, but can't for whatever reason. And so this is part of that healing. And of course, on the macro level, who is the mother? Well, it's Mother Earth. And boy, we sure do need to connect back with our Mother Earth, right? So it's multiple levels, dimensions of healing that are happening in this book with the messages and the inner work that needs to be done. So it's more embodied because it's a Earth teaching, it's a Mother Earth teaching, it's a divine feminine teaching. It works differently than the masculine.
And is the white buffalo calf woman, is she a shaman on the other, excuse me, on the other side?
She she's a medicine woman. She's an ascended master. She's a medicine woman. She actually, there's a legend where she appeared to the Lakota people with a white buffalo and said, essentially, when you see the white buffalo again, you'll know that my decision was, yes, we'll reverse all the damage of the human race. We'll bring the humanity up, we'll ascend consciousness, basically, like we're saving this round, kind of thing. So the indigenous people have seen white buffalo. So this is the message, is like, yes, we're doing it now, and we're bringing, loving all God's children, uniting everybody again, healing and clearing the historical past and the grudges and the karma and all that, and uniting, right? So we all have those messages in our own ways about unity on the planet. And so this is medicine for that. It's because in order to do that, we have to heal the mother wound. That's the only way. Like, the real direct path is healing the mother wound.
It's a very good sign, and it's so interesting. When we spoke the other day and you mentioned white buffalo calf woman, I was like, what? What did you say? Because, like I told you, when I saw a psychic 6 months ago in Denmark, he said to me, "Does white buffalo mean anything to you?" And I'd never heard about it. It didn't mean anything to me. And then here you are writing a book with White Buffalo Calf Woman, and so even though I haven't seen the White Buffalo, I've heard about it now, twice.
I'm getting chills up and down my spine. I can feel her like standing right behind me. So yeah, it is like, so I'm prompted to say that when the team that this was choosing this incarnation path of how to ascend the consciousness on the planet was deciding what the best way is to do this, um, the I remember as a soul, as a consciousness, reviewing human history and just looking through all the history and understanding it, and then choosing and saying, these indigenous people, they've come the closest to understanding about how to live and love on the earth, and being the gardeners of the earth. And so that's, most second waivers have incarnated into lineages with a strong indigenous connection. So somewhere back in the ancestry are a people who were very connected to the earth, right? And so we talked about your connection to the earth wisdom. And so these lineages are specifically chosen for that strong connection. The medicine people, the wise women, the sages, the prophets that are in each line. If you go back far enough, you find them that are connected to the earth. And so mine is Cherokee, and so this is intentional because we're bringing that lineage and that medicine forward into New Earth.
That's wonderful. So that means that the future, even though it looks a little not so good right now, it will be.
It will be, and it's your choice to see the beauty way. It's your choice to focus on the beauty way, or to watch the television news and go down into the dark, dismal abyss
Oh,
of the lowest timeline possible. You can
yeah.
do that, or you can focus your energy on the beauty way and on emanating out the frequencies and doing the personal work that you can do to release the baggage of the past, that and upgrade your frequency. And as you do that, as Jennifer Huff explains in the book, she's got the science angle. She explains the science of it, is that we're always emanating out photon packages of light. And those photon packages of light that we emanate out, like even me here sitting with you, like we're emanating back and forth photon packages of light, and we're receiving each other's photon packages of light. And what we're receiving is not just light, but like all of our life's experiences, our energetic vibration, the level of consciousness we've been able to claim for ourselves, the healing that we've been able to claim in our ancestry, that's all being emanated back and forth into everybody who's watching. Like, you're receiving that. And if you're just listening, you're receiving it through the voice, through the tone, through the love that's in the heart that speaks the words. So you're getting all of that as a download into your matrix, so that you can integrate that yourself if you claim it for yourself. So that is how we heal the planet, is that we keep doing our personal work, We acknowledge, okay, yeah, there could be some stuff on the horizon. My guides will nudge me if I need to take a step to protect myself or to go get like 1,000 cans of beans or something. Like I'll be told if I need to hole up or if I need to go hide in the mountains or, I'll be instructed, and just have that faith and trust that you'll be guided around the chaos. Like stay out of the fray. People of lower consciousness that haven't got there yet are going to probably let these energies carry them away into some aggression and some conflict. And you just need to stay out of the way of it. It'll sort itself out.
Good. I like to hear that.
And, take precautions and listen to your guides and ask, make sure that you're taking all the steps. Your guides are like your ancestors, and your guides are saying, okay, you need to be sure to do this, this, and this, because they want you to succeed. You're the latest in a line of humanity that has fought this struggle from day one to elevate human consciousness. Okay, so like you're their hope. They're at your back.
Yeah.
They want you to succeed. They're cheering you on.
Wonderful. We need all the good energies we can get.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe I am called to plant potatoes because that was another thing the psychic said. He said, I see you growing potatoes. I was like, are you growing
Potatoes are good
potatoes?
food, really good
Yeah,
food, and they last a long time. And yeah, you can feed yourself pretty. I mean, look at the Irish. The Irish fed themselves on potato quite a long time, and they were very healthy.
true. Yeah, I've kind of been getting off potatoes for a while now because they're very high in oxalates, and I found out that could be an issue for me. But since that him saying that, I feel like I should start growing potatoes. um, all right, let's see if there's something else I wanted to ask you. If you have a little more time.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Um, so I assume that Hummingbird was not the last name you were born with. And it's such a beautiful name. Was it because of your hummingbirds being your spirit guide, or was it like a numerology thing?
Well, it was because of a vision I had. So I had been training with that first teacher I told you about for a while, and I discovered the drum and the drum journey from him. And so I had bought myself a drum, so I could do my own little drum journeys and be at home and get messages from spirit. And at this particular juncture, I was realizing that I had an opportunity to buy a house and to buy my own house. And so I thought, okay. And so I found a house that I really liked and I wanted to buy it. And then my real estate agent told me, oh, well, they've been back and forth in negotiations on that house for like 2 weeks now. So you're probably not going to get that house because usually they'll settle with each other if they've been at it that long. I said, oh, okay, we'll see about that. So I hung up and I got my drum out and I went into a drum journey, open sacred space. I went into the drum journey. I saw myself in the house. I was like, this is my house. My grandma who had passed away was in the house and she's like, oh, I love this house. And so we were having a great time visiting and just like checking out all the features. And I was just imagining, I was kind of making the whole thing up, like I was thinking about it. And then near the end of the journey, I was standing in my vision in the house, in the kitchen, and I'm looking out the back window, and all of a sudden, this rainbow light whooshed up with a hummingbird in the back window, just like, whoosh, just like hung there. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't make that happen. That was from spirit. And I was in some serious awe at that moment, just like, wow, that is trippy because the whole energy changed and everything. And then the phone rang, like within a minute. The phone rang and it was my realtor. And she said, okay, the deal fell through with the other person. And so what's your offer? Okay. And I'm in the house now. So been in my house for a while now. So that really got my attention, as you can imagine. And I said, okay, once again, like here's spirit calling on me. And it's hummingbird. So I looked it up in the book, and this is my first big experience with hummingbird. I looked it up in the book and I was like, oh, that's totally me. Like, I think it was like Stephen Farmer's Animal Spirit Guidebook. I like, that's me. That is completely, I'm a messenger. I'm a messenger. I'm a sage. I always know I'm supposed to write and communicate and speak and all of this. I know that's true. And I know I'm creative and all the things it was saying. I was like, that's totally me. So I just said, you know what? A couple months went by and I said, I started going to the Drum Journey Circle and I started calling myself Kerri Hummingbird because everybody else had their little animal spirit name, right?
Yeah.
So I said, oh, fine, I'm Kerri Hummingbird. And then a couple months after that, I put it on Facebook. I changed my name from my other name to Kerri Hummingbird. And everybody was like, what are you doing? What, what's going on? And it was really when I changed it on LinkedIn about a year later that I really claimed my power in it. And I was like, no, this is who I am. It's more true than anything else. And I claim it. So now I'm officially that on my license as well, except I'm also married. So I'm Kerri Hummingbird Sami on my
Okay.
license. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
love that. Claim your name, women. Like, claim your name. Claim the name that you want for you because it's like, I'm so done with like inheriting names,
yeah,
from men.
yeah. I actually changed my name when I was 10 years old, um, to Emma. And then so I asked my mom if I could be called Emma instead of animated. And my mom said, sure. And then she gave me a note to take to school and give to my teachers. And so everyone knew to call me Emma from now on. And so I've been Emma ever since. And then when I was 18, I changed my last name as well from a dream I had. Changed my last name to Cairo.
I love that. Isn't it empowering when you claim your own name?
Yeah, it is. But I have been thinking lately that I might need another change. And my good friend Simon, who has also been on this podcast, he's a numerologist as well as a spiritual teacher, and he was talking about in that episode that he's changed his name I think 3 times, and every time he does it, different energies come up. And the last time he changed it with the numerology, the numerologist said, I'm going to put in, this is actually going to give you some author energy. And he was like, oh, really? And then within 6 months, I think he had published a book, written and published a book, something he'd never thought about before. So it's really powerful to change your name. I can, uh, I can agree to attest to that.
Yeah, it's very powerful. And my last name now is Sami, and that was because that's my husband's name. I actually got married again. And my first husband, I never took his name. I just didn't want to. We couldn't agree, and I was like, nah. So I kept my name even though I was married. But with this husband, I really wanted to take his name. And it was a lot because of the love and also because of just the symbology of it. So when we first met, I didn't actually know his last name. I saw it, but it didn't register. And he met me at my fire walk. He came into my fire walk and he was like, so impressed with the power I was holding and the space I was holding and everything like that. He saw me in my power and he was like, wow, I really like this woman. So the way we met was very fiery and passionate and powerful. And we went on our first date and we were starting to connect and everything. And I was really liking this man. Like, I was like, wow, like, who is this? And I couldn't really see who he was past life wise because there was some filter or something that he had up, his soul had up. So I wasn't able to like scan him, and see who he was, which I could do with other people. So I was really like kind of perturbed. And then I went to the grocery store one night, late at night, then not normally there that late. And I'm talking with my mom on the phone and I'm multitasking. And then all of a sudden, this tall black man, my husband's black, this tall black man is kind of lingering nearby. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm good, like I don't need any attention right now, like that's good. Thinking he's, coming on to me or something. And he comes over, he touches my arm and he says, I know you. I'm thinking, and he says, you're dating my son. And my
Oh.
mouth like drops. And we have this conversation I go, Mom, I got to go. I'm talking to my boyfriend's dad. Leave. And within a couple of minutes, he tells me my son is completely in love with you.
Oh.
And so for me, that was so pivotal, that healing, like all the doors that I would have like doubted or gone like he can't be for real or gone into some story, they all got slammed shut all at once. Because there's no way a father-son like scams somebody like that. Like that's just no. So I was like, okay, this is for real. Like he really does. Oh my God. Like this is crazy. I even gave him my books to tell me, like, read those books. You'll find out all my dirty secrets, and then you won't want to be with me probably. Like, I even gave him my books. I'm like, read my books, and that's how his dad had seen my picture. So like, okay. So after this experience, I'm so elated because I'm like, oh my God, like that actually means this is my guy. He's really for real and he's not faking it and he's legit and that's his dad and I feel this kinship with him like I know him or something, like this is getting really real. And then all of a sudden it comes into my brain, Sami, and I remember, oh my God, that is the word that I've been saying for years in healing ceremonies, because the Quechua word for light is Sami. There's two types of energy in the Karo tradition, Hucha, heavy energy, and Sami, light. And the moment I made that connection, it's like I heard this like this laughter, like that the Karo would laugh and say, ha 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 ha, like we set you up, woohoo! Like this is your guy. That way you know for sure it's the one you're supposed to be with. And there's no doubt. I was like, oh my God. So then when he asked me to marry him about a year later, I said yes. I was like, I'm taking your name.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's wonderful how spirit shows you these signs in these ways.
It's amazing. And you know, in ceremony about our marital ceremony, it came through like he's my ordained by God relationship. Like
Mm.
this is the one that God picked for me. You know, God, great spirit, universe, creator, whatever your word is. Like there are those relationships that are ordained for your love and for your bliss, for your purpose work. That's the relationship. So, and then there's other relationships we have that are lessons that we work through some stuff. We can clean up some karma, learn some dharma, you know. And then there's the one that's really there for you for your life plan. So
So how do you know that your partner is the one for your life plan?
that's a really good question. Boy.
If
Well, I
his
think
name
everybody
isn't,
has
if his last name isn't Sami or
Sami.
Light or
He saw me, yeah. You know, here's what I suggest. Because its story is going to be different for everybody and you wouldn't want it any other way, because don't you want to be surprised in awe, love, and gratitude?
yes.
Okay. So then you can't know the ending. So so what I say is I would invite, if for anybody in that position, I would invite your spirit team to create for you a magical journey of discovery of your life partner with enough synchronous messages, coincidences, and awe-inspiring interactions that lead you to the inevitable conclusion that this is your one. And then, like, it will be magical for you to experience it. When I actually made a list of all the things I wanted, like years ago, years and years before I met Akeem, I made a list of all the qualities I wanted, and I was dating at the time. So I would date, and then the person would reveal to me one more thing that I didn't want and one more thing I did want, at least, you know? So that I would go back to my list and modify my list. This is what I want. And then at some point, I put the list aside and never thought about it again. So after I met Akeem and we had that moment of Sami and all of this stuff, and I was like, oh my God, this is my guy. Then a couple months later, I remembered that list. And I was like, oh my God, that's right. Let me go look at the list. And I looked at the list, and sure enough, like everything on the list, I got it all and more. So it's like that. It's like that much trust and love that you make your list, you evolve through the challenges, you become the person that you desire to receive, and then you're going to inevitably attract that person to you. And so just ask your spirit team, like, make it magical for me, like make it awe-inspiring. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. That's a good advice. It reminds me of a maybe funny, but a movie called Practical Magic with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, where she also, as a kid, she makes a list of the guys she wants to be with, and then sure enough, he comes.
Yeah. And when he comes, you better be prepared to receive him, because that's a real relationship. That's a keeper. You got to do your work, you know. That's
Yeah.
And we do our work together, and some of it's not easy, but we do it together, and it's a whole different vibration and intention. And because it's supported by the divine, it's a lot richer and makes a lot more sense as we're moving through it.
Mm. Wow. Beautiful.
Yay!
Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to ask you before we start to wrap up. The You talk about rainbow energy
Mm-hmm.
in your book. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so rainbow light energy is the energy I work with in my healing sessions, and I started to learn about channeling light during a training with Heather Ashamara and Diana Adkins. They have an Artist of the Spirit coach training program, and I learned about it there. But what happened was, as I was continuing my journey and medicine with the four winds, I went to Alsangate, the holy mountain, on a pilgrimage, and we stayed up at 14,500 feet camping on the mountain, and that's really high up there. So talk about not being able to breathe. You really got to really breathe like deeply up there. But I was on that trip with the Caro people, and on the last day, we were slated to go up to the Rainbow Lagoon, which is at the top with 16,500 feet. Um, and it's a beautiful space. It's a very sacred space, and there's beautiful energies there. There's a etheric rainbow keeper there. There's a rainbow bridge. It's really gorgeous space to be in up there. And some people in our group had gotten dreams and visitations from the rainbow keeper. And I had not gotten one, but I was like, I know I'm supposed to be up there. Like I just knew it, like I knew it in my heart, like I know I'm supposed to go. So the night before we're supposed to leave, Alberto is sitting with us all in the little kitchen tent, and he's like, so, um, Kerri, he puts his hand on my knee. You might really consider whether you're going to walk up there or not tomorrow, because if you can't make it up there, everybody else is going to have to turn back because we can't leave anybody behind.
Wow.
That was a lot of guilt and pressure. It was like, he's like, and you've had a little trouble breathing. And I looked at him, I'm like, I haven't really had any trouble breathing. You've had that little thing on my finger and I've been fine. One time I had to take a few extra deep breaths to do well with it, but I think I'm okay. But he put this doubt in there, and I was like, why is he doing that? Why is he calling me out specifically? And I was really like, so I was tossing and turning all night from that, like really exploring my heart. Like, is this my ego that wants to go up to the mountain, to the lagoon, or is it real? Like, I need to go up there. Like, what's the truth? And I don't want to keep anybody from going up there, and I'll sacrifice myself if I have to sacrifice myself and be a martyr. And like, so all my crap is totally in my face. And at the end of the day, in the morning, I decided I'm going. I am going, and I'm going to make it. Like, I am making it on that trip. I'm going to do it. And I did. I made it all the way up. And so I got all the way up there to the Rainbow Light. I sang to the Rainbow Keeper this beautiful song. We were talking about songs. I sang a song to the Rainbow Keeper just from my heart, even though we're at 16,500 feet is a little challenging to sing, but I just felt called. And up there at that level, you can hear all the stones talking. Like you actually can hear stones talk like that far up in the ether. So like they're like, take me, everybody wants to come along, like only some. So when we came back down off the mountain, we had a despacho ceremony. The Caro medicine people put this despacho ceremony on, and they were saying something to a friend of mine, and I didn't understand it because I don't understand Quechua yet, and I really this much knowledge of Spanish. So, and they speak a combination of Spanish and Quechua. So I was like, I don't know what he's saying. And I said, what's he? Because they were looking at me and motioning at me. And I said, what are they saying about me? And my friend said, well, they think you're the rainbow keeper. I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay. Does that mean I have to live up here? And like, anyway, so I kind of made this little bridge between my home and, the Rainbow Lagoon. I said, well, if it is me and it's true, I say yes. If it's true, If it's not, that's cool too. But if it's true, of course I'll say yes. And so I put a little bridge, etheric bridge between that place and my house so I could, go back and forth if I need to etherically or whatever, do what I need to do. So I was like, all right, I accept that if that's true. And, and then ever since then, like the rainbow healings have been really off the charts. So, like pretty powerful activations, and that's when the white eagle energy came in too. And white eagles, he's an ascended master of rainbow light. So see all the pieces come into place, and you don't realize it until you finally get it. Like you have to have a lot of clues repeated, before
Yeah,
it gets into your consciousness and you actually get it, because it's earth amnesia is something else.
for sure. Yeah. So the rainbow energy is a healing energy that encompasses all of the colors of the rainbow, or
Yeah,
the
all the colors.
different energies.
Yeah, people can just get like a waterfall of rainbow light and a healing. Like sometimes it's just a whole waterfall of rainbow light and it's like all of it pouring through. And other times it's like one specific color. I always give people the option, if you just want the one color, you can have the one color. But if you want the whole rainbow, you can have the whole rainbow too.
And
Yeah,
are the different colors like do they have a different vibe?
they seem to have a different vibe to me. I don't like to label anything because I don't want to restrict it just in
Yeah.
case there's multiple dimensional meanings to things. So I don't want to confine it to one thing. But for example, it seems to me that when people are working with like pink light or they want rose light, that it seems to me like that's about compassion, seems to me. But that's not like a firm thing. So I always ask people, they're the one asking for the light, right? So they want the light if they choose the light. And then I'll say, okay, what frequency do you welcome into your being? What vibration, frequency, what feeling do you want to have? How do you really want to feel? And then we bring that feeling and vibration down into their body. So it's just beautiful that way. And usually there is a correlation, but once again, I like to like dismiss it because it's anything is possible,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love working with the whole rainbow too. It's just fun.
What do you think why do you think song is so powerful?
Song is really powerful because it's a vibration and the whole universe is operating on vibration anyway. It's vibration and frequency, right? 'Cause it's like got tones and it's got like rhythm. So it's got both. And it's coming from your throat chakra, which is totally your empowerment chakra, like your ability to speak your truth. So however much work you've done in your throat chakra and your ability to like just let love pour through. And then your heart, because everything you speak is coming from the lower chakras as well, up through your throat chakra. So especially your heart. Especially if you're empathic, like I'm empathic, if you've got that open channel for your emotion center in your human design, then you're channeling also when you're speaking, you're channeling emotional energy too, like that frequency of love or that frequency of passion or whatever it is. It's coming out of you through your heart and out through your voice. So it's so healing. I mean, that when I first discovered the healing power of song through the Power Path, because they use a lot of healing song in to do their healings, they use songs. And when you receive a healing like that, it's just so astounding how much shift happens simply by someone placing their attention like on your heart and they're accessing the love within themselves, within their own heart and singing for your heart. It's like, wow, it's just amazing how it opens you and how you receive so much love. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's interesting. I had a dream where I dreamt that really high notes, they activate bright like white crystals, and more like mezzo soprano notes, they activate like orange type crystals. And yeah,
That makes
some things
sense.
like weird, like things like that come to me sometimes in dreams, and I'm sure to make sure to write it down so I don't forget.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Yeah, beautiful. I can't wait to interview on my show and hear
Yeah.
about all the things that you've learned about sound and healing songs. beautiful.
I am excited for that as well. So thank you so much for being on the Nordic Magic Link podcast, and tell people where they can find you.
Absolutely. So you can find me at my website, which is kerrihummingbird.com, Kerri, hummingbird.com. And there's a free gift there for anybody who would like to claim it. It's an oracle game. It's called the Love Mastery Game. And it is there's like a little notepad, and you fill out the question, like you have an inquiry of what you want to ask, and then the goal of it is to tell you like what allies you have on earth to support you with your challenge, like what medicine do they have that would be useful to you right now, and then what are you mastering, what state of being are you mastering, and what mastery lesson of love are you mastering, what are you working on, so you understand why this thing is happening, which is so helpful. And you can
Yeah.
play it, you can roll the dice, which I love. So all of it's printable and free, except you have to go get your own 12-sided dice if you want to roll the dice. So it's a fun game. You learn a lot, and that's available at my website at kerrihummingbird.com, Kerri, hummingbird.com /play.
Cool. I'm definitely going to check that out. And what about your podcast? Where can people find you there?
So you can link to it from my website, or you can go direct to the podcast website. It's soulnectar.show.
I love that you have the nectar in it since you're the hummingbird.
Exactly. It was perfect when it came
Yeah.
to me. I was like, it's soul nectar. So, and all we talk about on the podcast is people's soul nectar, like what really lights them up, what their pathway to finding what lights them up, and then how they live their life now that they're connected with their passion.
Definitely. And people should definitely go check out your podcast as well as your website. And I look forward to our next talk when I will be on your podcast.
Yay! I look forward to it too, Emma. This has been fun. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thanks so much.